Welcome, my friends, to another episode of Facts Me, where we educate, not fabricate. I'm your host, Stephen Lancaster, and today we're tackling what I call the mother of all issues, abortion. It was only a matter of time before I had to address this, and I want to let you know right out the gate that I am 100% firmly planted on the pro-life side of things. But I want you to hear me out. Whether or not you are here because you are already pro-life or you clicked this episode because you are pro-choice, all I ask is that you hear me out. This topic is uncomfortable, it's divisive, and it's emotionally charged. But truth doesn't hide behind comfort. Truth confronts us. No matter where you stand on this issue, one thing remains unshakable. Facts do not change. Opinions fluctuate, emotions flare, politics twist and turn, but facts are infallible. But first, let me suggest an alternative that could be a win-win for both pro-choice and pro-life advocates. This is something that's never really been approached before. In other words, how can we make both sides happy? Well, I'm going to present you with something before I really get into the core of the abortion issue. If you truly are for women's reproductive rights, then keep listening. If you are not truly for women's reproductive rights, go ahead and leave the podcast now because you're contradicting yourself. So let's unpack the most common reason women give for choosing abortion. I don't want the baby. At first glance, this sounds like personal autonomy. A woman exercising control over her own body. But here's the critical point. It ignores the real-world alternative of adoption, where another woman who desperately wants a child could raise that baby. If a woman's reasoning is truly about choice or convenience, rather than the inability to carry the child to term, then choosing abortion actually denies another woman a fundamental opportunity she cannot have. There are countless women who cannot conceive or carry a pregnancy to term. Women who would give everything to experience motherhood, to nurture a child, to love a baby fully. By choosing abortion instead of considering adoption, a woman is saying, I don't want to carry this child, and I don't care who misses the chance to have one. So let's talk about hypocrisy. Pro-choice rhetoric is built on women's rights, bodily autonomy, and equality. It's my body, my choice, they say. But women who cannot have children don't have that choice. Their bodies cannot produce life, and no law or technology can change that. So when a woman aborts because she doesn't want the baby, she is exercising her bodily freedom at the expense of another woman's opportunity to be a mother. She is undermining the equality of women, not supporting it. She is prioritizing personal convenience over the desires and rights of another woman. If women truly stood behind each other, celebrated each other's experiences, and empowered each other, there would be no reason to terminate a pregnancy simply because of personal desire. Adoption provides a pathway to support women, uplift women, and respect life simultaneously. In essence, abortion in this scenario isn't a victory for women's rights. It's a failure of women's solidarity, a neglect of moral responsibility, and a betrayal of the principle of equality. A woman's convenience should not nullify another woman's opportunity for motherhood. True empowerment is not just about exercising control over one's body. It's about respecting the needs, rights, and humanity of other women too. So if the reason for abortion is, I don't want the baby, the indisputable argument is this. There is a willing woman who cannot have a child who would give her life to raise this baby. Choosing abortion in this scenario is a choice against women, not for them. So now that I have that option out of the way, that just scenario that makes total sense to me, it's a win-win for both sides of the argument. No baby is being murdered. You don't have to have the baby you don't want. And a woman who cannot have a baby gets to have one. Everybody wins. So let's get to the science of things. The facts behind abortion and reproduction. Science affirms that at conception, a genetically unique human organism is formed. That is a fact. It's not a philosophy. It's not a political talking point. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. From the moment of conception, a new life exists with its own DNA, its own biological identity, its own destiny. It is connected to the mother, but it is not her body. Abortion intentionally ends the developing life. This is not subjective. It is biological reality. A fetus is not a potential human. A fetus is a developing human being. Just like a toddler is not a potential adult, a fetus is a stage of human life. So let's go to that common number one argument. It's my body, my choice. So let's confront that argument. It's my body. The baby is in your body. Yes, that is true. But it is not your body. It has its own DNA, its own heartbeat, its own biological identity. It is separate. It is a separate living human being. What concerns me isn't just the act itself. It's the mentality. Personal autonomy is celebrated, but personal responsibility is ignored. You made choices that led to that conception, but now responsibility vanishes under the banner of convenience. Some pro-choicers respond, if it were murder, it wouldn't be legal. Let me be clear. Legality has never defined morality. Slavery was legal. Segregation was legal. Genocide has been legal. The law is a reflection of culture, not an absolute measure of right and wrong. So yes, you do have a right to your body, but that right ends when another body begins. If a man cannot claim my body, my choice as a justification for violence, why should anyone else? Responsibility cannot be selective. And if this argument bothers you, consider the moral consistency it exposes. If human life depends on convenience, then morality itself becomes optional. Hey, my friends, please join me on Facebook at facebook.com/CanYouFaxMe to continue these discussions, gain access to powerful memes, and leave your thoughts and comments. That is facebook.com/CanYouFaxMe. And that's facts, spelled F-A-C-T-S. See you there. Okay, so the next big thing with abortion, and probably the hardest aspect of debating abortion, is the argument of rape and incest. These are tragic and complex situations. A woman has endured such trauma. She deserves compassion, justice, and support. But let us ask a simple question. Does the humanity of an unborn child change because of the circumstances of conception? No, absolutely not. A child conceived in love and a child conceived in violence are both human, both innocent, and both deserving life. We punish the perpetrator, not the innocent. Two wrongs never make a right, and destroying one life will never undo the trauma of another. If you sat two babies beside each other and one was conceived from rape and one was conceived from a happy, loving couple, you would never be able to tell the difference. You wouldn't be able to say this one was conceived in rape and this one was conceived in love. So if not at conception, then when? Some argue that parenthood and personhood begins later, at viability, at birth, or when the fetus can feel pain. But let me ask, if killing a newborn is murder, what changes in the seconds before birth to make the same act morally acceptable? Nothing. Nothing makes that morally acceptable. DNA, heartbeat, brain activity, capacity for pain, all remain unchanged. Only location has changed. If human worth depends on size, dependency, or convenience, then a premature baby in an incubator would have less of a right to live than a full-term baby. But we know that is not true. Personhood is not conditional. One of the biggest issues I have with the pro-choice advocates is the fact that they do everything in their power to avoid social repercussions of devaluing life. They word things in a way that doesn't make them sound like a murderer. They word things in a way that they are the victim, not the baby. But let's go deeper. This is not just a matter of biology or legality. This is about society and morality. When we justify ending innocent life, something deeper dies within us. Our empathy, our conscience, our culture. Civilizations have fallen not through external attacks, but through internal moral decay. When life loses its sacred value, everything else follows. Compassion becomes selective, responsibility becomes optional, morality becomes negotiable. A society that teaches convenience outweighs conscious fathers' apathy. Children grow up believing human worth is conditional. Adults learn that responsibility can be avoided, and that ripple spreads far beyond the womb. Respect for the elderly and vulnerability erodes, violence, moral relativism, and social cynicism rise. The language we use, tissue, product of conception, numbs the conscious, and euphemisms replace recognition of real human life. When we treat life as disposable, we open the door to justify almost anything. Euthanasia, genetic engineering, or acts of violence rationalized under the guise of utility. Culture itself begins to corrode. Marriage, commitment, loyalty, integrity all lose weight when it becomes a commodity rather than a sacred trust. Let's take comparisons to historical atrocities, and I know you've heard many pro-life advocates use these. Slavery, the Holocaust. They may feel extreme, but there is a principle here. The mass devaluation of innocent lives is a moral wrong, and society eventually recognizes such wrongs. Even in cases of rape or incest, the child's humanity does not change. Circumstance does not determine moral worth. And then we have the slippery slope and the cultural consequences. Labeling unborn life as not fully human or as mere cells or tissue is not neutral language. It is dehumanization. History proves that once a group of human beings can be devalued, atrocities follow. Abortion is a societal litmus test. If we lose respect for the most vulnerable, what prevents us from eroding respect for all? A culture that normalizes ending life for convenience erodes empathy, numbs conscience, and sets the stage for moral decay. The consequences are not hypothetical. They are tangible and observable in every corner of society. So we have to put a call out there to conscience. Nobody's being condemned here, but this is a challenge. Facts may inform the mind, but courage transforms the heart. Life begins at conception. Every human life, no matter how small, dependent, or inconvenient, has inherent value. The measure of a society is not how it treats the powerful, but how it protects the powerless. We can support women, uplift mothers, and protect children, born and unborn, without sacrificing moral integrity. We can build a culture of life, compassion, and responsibility. And one day, as history looks back, I believe abortion will be remembered as we remember slavery, a moral wrong that society eventually confronted and corrected. But here's the thing. You can do whatever you want with your body. There's nothing stopping you. I can do whatever I choose with mine as well. Within reason, there's little we can't do. But the real question isn't about what we can do. It's about what we should do. It's time to reframe the narrative. It's no longer simply my body, my choice. It's deeper than that. It's could I or should I? This has been Facts Me, my friends. I'm Stephen Lancaster. Thank you for listening. I hope these words make you think a little bit deeper about the issues, policies, morality, and lack of morality you may support or stand behind. And I thank you for having the courage to face the facts. Let's continue the discussion over on my Facebook page at facebook.com/canyoufactsme. I'll see you there. Hey, my friends, please join me on Facebook at facebook.com/canyoufactsme. To continue these discussions, gain access to powerful memes, and leave your thoughts and comments. That is facebook.com/canyoufactsme.